Hello and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Please like, subscribe, and share. Trying to get it on my phone right quick. Please bear with me. I want to thank a friend at Facebook for having this up on her site to bring the awareness to me so that I could get it out to y'all. To close out this banner thing. So bear with me a second. I'm sorry. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I'd like to do a couple Bible verses. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Note also that fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. That means we need to stand up. We don't need to be quiet. Matthew 18, verse 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father, which is in heaven. A shout out for everyone that's here. Thank you so much for coming, Chris. Thank you so much for coming, Lady O. It's good to see you. Yeah, you see the title says Utah Sex Offender Registry new laws has changed to lesser sentences. Somebody had showed me that that was in the works of being done, and guess what? It got okayed. It's been okayed. It's like 0 and lower outside. That's not slip. Oh no. Are you okay? I pray that you get better soon. Boy, oh, I'm so sorry you slipped out on the ice. Mercy. Then would I'll go ahead and at the end of this, I'll show y'all a petition to sign also. Oh, it's snowing there too. I know in Missouri it's snowing. It's not snowing here, thank God. It's raining a lot. Here it is right here. It says, this is the bill to change to Utah's sex offender registry gets committees okay. That was February the 1st. Putting a thumbs down to y'all for y'all okaying this, okay? I'm giving y'all a thumbs down. We're supposed to do severe penalties to protect our kids. Why are you protecting the predators? I want to know that, right? So, Salt Lake City, a controversial bill proposing changes to Utah sex offender registry was met with both support and criticism on Utah's Capitol Hill Friday. When SB 155 was first released by Senator Todd Wheeler last week, it was met with harsh criticism. Let me see if it's still got his picture over here to the right. Let me see. No, it's not there right now. Okay. I have to show you his picture in a little while, okay? Take a note. This is who the guy that proposed it, Senator Todd Willard. Don't forget his name, okay? He's the one that proposed. Is met with harsh criticism on Friday. A substitute bill was presented in the Senate Judiciary, Law Enforcement, and Criminal Justice Committee. The original version of the SB 155 focused on moving certain criminal offenses with a lifetime sex offender registration to the list of offenses only required a 10-year registration. But now the substitute bill focuses on reducing the length of time on the registry before a sex offender, after serving their full sentence, can request a risk assessment and go before a judge to ask to be removed from the registry. Hey, Eric, good to see you, buddy. It's okay. We just now started, Eric. It's okay that you're a little late. Thank you for coming. I think in those rare circumstances where someone maybe got out onto the database with unusual circumstances, or they're on the database and they truly have reformed their lives, they should have the chance to make that case before a judge, says Senator Todd Willard. I know there's been some people who's been wrongly accused. I go for them being dropped, but anyone else, and they get the recognition of somebody lying on them to give them a jail. During the public comment period on Friday, those in support of and opposition to the bill spoke before the committee. Are we a society that believes in redemption? Says Steve Burton, a defense attorney who spoke in favor of the bill. What about the redemption for the kid that they hurt? They got to live with it the rest of their lives. Do y'all agree or disagree? You're an adult. You got to think about your actions before you do it. You do not harm a kid in that way. It is sick and sadistic. The kid has no choice. By the time someone is asking for removal, they have already done time, added Mark Moffat, who is also a defense attorney. HB 155 looks to allow those with a lifetime registration to appeal to a judge 12 years after their sentence, not the current 20 years. And those with a 10-year registration sentence could appeal after 5 years instead of 8. Wow. Those in opposition to the bill asked the committee Friday to recognize the lifetime impact sexual abuse crimes have on its victims. Exactly. We would like to know who the people that opposed it so they can have all the support of the people, right, y'all? Several expressed outrage that Utah's lawmakers would even consider such a bill. Hello, Eric. We can forgive, but we should not forget, said Patrice Patterson. This bill, even as amended, sends a message to victims that we care more about the perpetrators than we do about them. Exactly. That's the exact message that we get. And they'll just be more apt to hide what they're doing. The damage done to survivors doesn't end in 10, 12 years. It doesn't end in 20 years, Delaney England said. Several of the lawmakers on the committee who voted to send the substitute bill to the full Senate did so saying they didn't necessarily support it as stands right now, but wanted to give the full body a chance to debate it. The substitute bill passed 5-3 and now moves to the Senate floor. Most recent legislative stories: House approved bill allowing parents to limit conversation topics for kids, school therapists. Okay, you limit the conversation topics for the school therapist. So if you're abusing your kid at child, maybe the parent is not allowed the school to be able to, end up getting them busted for doing something to the kid, right? Wow. Okay, so here is the Senator Wheeler over here, drafting attorney. There's the drafting attorney Shad Larson. Deputy Kevin Maurice is the fiscal analyst. So I went ahead and saved it in PDF format. So let me get to the PDF format since it's easier to read. Sorry. Proposes the following substitute bill. Yes, it's true. Sex, kidnap, and child abuse offender adjustments. Did you hear that? You sex, kidnap, and child abuse offender adjustments. How wrong is this? How wrong is that for them to adjust that on the. Wow. This bill amends provisions related to the Sex, Kidnap, and Child Abuse Offender Registry. Highlighted provision. This bill reduces the amount of time that must elapse before an offender who is on the sex, kidnap, and child abuse offender registry for an offense requiring lifetime registration is able to first petition for early removal from the registry and able to file an additional petition for early removal if the offender's previous petition is denied, contains a coordination clause to coordinate changes between this bill and SB 41 Sex, Kidnap, and Child Abuse Offender Registry amendments, and makes technical and conforming changes. Money appropriated in this bill? None. Other special clauses, this bill provides a coordination clause. Utah Code sections affected amends 7741 112 as last amended by laws of Utah. Okay. So this got me a little sick of my stomach just thinking about what they're doing. This is section 1, section 774112 is amended 112 is amended to read removal from registry requirements procedure. 1. An offender who is required to register with sex, kidnap, and child abuse offender registry may petition the court for an order removing the offender from the sex, kidnap, and child abuse offender registry if the offender was convicted of an offense described in subsection 2. At least 5 years have passed after the day on which the offender's sentence or the offense terminated. Wow. The offense is the only offense for which the offender was required to register. The offender has not been convicted of another offense, excluding a traffic offense, since the day on which the offender was convicted of the offense for which the offender is required to register, as evidenced by a certificate of eligibility issued by the Bureau. Y'all got to note, there's a lot of these culprits they get away with. Okay, look at all these other ones that they get a lesser sentence because they drop some of the charges on them because they get a plea deal, right? So then they get a lesser, and there's more victims noted in that. But guess what? They drop these other cases where this offender, like here in Tennessee, okay? So they go and they do this, but guess what? It's not these other people that got raped or whatever by these perpetrators. They don't get justice because guess what? You drop their case just for the perpetrator to get a plea deal. Y'all are sick. Y'all had the proof behind the pudding. Y'all had pictures. Y'all had the videos. You had the conversations. And why are you giving these people plea deals in the first place? Too? That's a beef I got to do also. Okay. The offender successfully completed all treatment ordered by the court or the Board of Pardons and Parole related to the offense, and the offender has paid all restitution ordered by the court or the Board of Pardons and Parole related to the offense. The offender is required to register in accordance with subsection 7741 105. Okay, after 10 years have passed after the later of the date on which the offender was placed on probation, the day on which the offender was released from incarceration to parole, the day on which the offender's sentence was terminated without parole, the day on which the offender entered a community-based residential program, or For a minor, as defined in Section 81102, the day on which the division's custody of the offender was terminated. The offender has not been convicted of another offense that is a Class A misdemeanor, felony, or capital felony within the most recent 10-year period after the date described in section. I got a problem with that too because there's these sex traffickers that's high in our governments. That's our senators, that's our governors, policemen, mayors, judges, and stuff like that who has never got a sex offender uh, thing. I never had to go to court on it or nothing, but they are one of the people that are the traffickers. And so you're saying if these were caught and put in there, oh, okay, so they'll get right out, right? Excuse me, because they didn't have previous felonies. It just irks me. A lot of people don't get to have to go to jail for it because a lot of people they get underreported, or some people don't go ahead and they'll say "Well, we don't believe you, or they don't do nothing about it to try to help the victim. So what do you do then? And the offender just keeps going on and on and on. The offender successfully completed all treatment and ordered by the court of the board and pardons relating to the offense, and the offender has paid all restitution ordered by the court or the board of pardons and parole relating to the offense, or the offender is required to register in accordance with section 7741.105. So at least, see, it used to be 20 years. You see where they took out 20 and put 12 years? See that? So now, at least 12 years have passed after the letter of the day on which the offender was placed on probation. See, it used to be 20 right here. See? They scribbled it out. They changed it to 12 years. Yes, they are, Eric. Yes, they are. The day on which the offender was placed on probation, the day on which the offender was released from incarceration to parole, the day on which the offender's sentence was terminated without parole, the day on which the offender entered a community based residential program, or for a minor, as defined in section 80, 101, 102, the day on which the division's custody, the offender was terminated. In layman's terms, when we go back, here's all this, and okay, it says here's the offenses labeled. Let me go back up. The offenders. Okay, this got the subsections and stuff right here, right? So let's go on down and get further down there. Okay, the offenses referred to in section 1 are enticing a minor under 76.401 if the offense is a Class A misdemeanor. Kidnapping under section 76.5301. Unlawful detention under section 76.5304 if the conviction of violating section 76.5304 is the only conviction for which the offender is required to register. While unlawful detention, if that's the only one, he might get swept under, might not have to stay on the registry, huh? Unlawful sexual activity with a minor under section 76.5401 if at the time of the offense the offender is not more than 10 years older than the victim. So if you're less than, oh, wow. Sexual abuse of a minor under section 76.5401 if at the time of the offense the offender is not more than 10 years older than the victim. I wouldn't think that age should be a difference regardless, right? That should not be unlawful sexual conduct with a 16 or 17-year-old under section 76.5401.2, and at the time of the offense, the offender is not more than 15 years older than the victim. Voyeurism under the offender is not more than 15 years older than the victim. So if you are more than 15 years older than the victim, where's that going to hold us, right? Voyeurism under Section 769-702. If the offense is a Class A misdemeanor or an offense for which an individual is required to register under Section 7741-102. An offender seeking removal from the Sex, Kidnap, and Child Abuse Offender Registry under this section shall apply for a certificate of eligibility from the Bureau. An offender who intentionally or knowingly provides false or misleading information to the Bureau when applying for a certificate of eligibility is guilty of a Class B misdemeanor. You see that? A misdemeanor. Wow, just a misdemeanor if you give false information and get off the sex offender registry. Wow, and subject to prosecution under Section 76(8). Wow, just a misdemeanor after what they done was a mess with a kid in the first place, and you're going to give them a misdemeanor? Regardless of whether the offender is prosecuted, the Bureau may deny a certificate of eligibility to an offender who provides false information on an application. Well, I would hope that you would. The Bureau shall perform a check of records of governmental agencies, including national criminal databases, to determine whether an offender is eligible to receive a certificate of eligibility and determine whether the offender meets the requirements described in. I ain't going to read all them letters right there, okay? If the offender meets the requirements described in subsection 1, the Bureau shall issue a certificate of eligibility for the offender, which is valid for a period of 90 days after the day on which its Bureau issues the certificate. Sorry, y'all. The Bureau shall charge application and issuance fees for the certificate of eligibility in accordance with the process. The application fee shall be paid at the time the offender submits an application for certificate of eligibility to the Bureau. If the Bureau determines that the issuance of a certificate of eligibility is appropriate, the offender will be charged an additional fee for the issuance of a certificate of eligibility. Funds generated under this subsection shall be deposited into the general fund as a dedicated credit by the department to cover the costs incurred in determining eligibility. Is this another way for you to make a lot more money? The offender shall file the petition, including original information, the court docket, the certificate of eligibility from the Bureau, and the document from the department described in subsection with the court, and deliver a copy of the petition to the office of the prosecutor. Upon receipt of the petition for removal from the Sex, Kidnap, and Child Abuse Offender Registry, the office of the prosecutor shall provide notice of the petition by first-class mail to the victim at the most recent address of record on file. If the victim is still a minor under 18 years old, to the parent or guardian of the victim. What? Oh, man. Okay, excuse me. Hold on a minute. I got to rewrite that. Okay. The office of the prosecutor shall provide notice of the petition of first-class mail to the victim, most recent address of record on file. The victim is still under 18 years old, to the parent or guardian. Wow. The notice described in subsection shall include a copy of the petition that state that the victim has a right to object to the removal of the offender from the registry. You better let them have a voice, and if they say, no, don't let them out, I would not let them out. And provide instructions for registering an objection with the court. The office of the prosecutor shall provide the following. If available to the court within 30 days after the day on which the office receives a petition, presenting report and evaluation done as part of the sentencing and other information the office of the prosecutor determines the court should consider. The victim or victim's parents or guardian, if the victim is a minor under 18 years old, may respond to the petition by following a recommendation or objection with the court within 45 days after the date on which the petition is mailed to the victim. And the only thing I'm thinking about, main thing I'm thinking about right here when I see this, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Don't they care about the children? When you're a kid and you find out that the person is in jail, okay, good, yeah, yeah, I'm safe, right? Now you got to worry about, is this person going to come back at me? Nightmares, possibly suicide. That's going to cause the kid to maybe commit suicide. I do have a petition for people to sign in a few minutes too, for something else. I'll show y'all in a few. Okay, but I don't think it would pass. But I would hope that it would. And making the determination described in subsection, the court may consider the nature and degree of violence involved in the offense that requires registration, the age and number of victims of the offense that requires registration, the age of the offender at the time of the offense that requires registration, the offender's performance while on supervision for the offense that requires registration, the offender's stability and employment and housing, the offender's community and personal support system, other criminal and relevant non-criminal behavior of the offender, both before and after the offense that requires registration, the level of risk posed by the offender as evident subsection, any other relevant factors. So I'm going to get on further down. This is just making me sick reading this. You see, it's going to take effect. See when it takes effect, y'all? May the 7th, 2025. Y'all see that? There you go. Takes effect on May the 7th, 2025. It was approved. Oh man, I got to close this one out because guess what? It's not making me feel too good. We'll go over this one over here later. I'm really proud of Marilyn right here, okay? So let's close this one out. So here's the Utah laws regulate and register sex offenders, okay? Registered sex offenders in Utah are governed by certain constraints as far as where they can travel, how often they must update their information on the registry, and for some offenders, inviting a child to accompany them anywhere. Below are some specifics regarding Utah's law. The five protected zones off limits for those convicted of a crime against a minor. Licensed daycares or preschools. Swimming pools open to the public. Public or private primary secondary schools not on the grounds or a correctional facility. Community park open to the public and playground open to the public. But you find these people still here today. They don't keep a close enough watch. Like we got a friend in Idaho. There's a lot of sex offenders doing wandering around and around all these kids right outside right really close to the school and everything. And the cops don't care. The cops don't care. Even if you had this law right here, the cops ain't caring to do anything. How come you are protecting all these perpetrators, police officers, judges, attorneys, all y'all? Because y'all are part of it, right? You people that are not protecting our kids, guess what? Every kid that is violated under your watch, when you changing this law, guess what? You are responsible for whatever happens to these kids. You are supposed to keep the kids safe. The requirements for registered out of state offenders must register within 10 days of entering the state, regardless of the length of stay. Offenders under AP&P supervision shall register with AP&P. I noticed that used to, like when I lived in Alabama, there would a police officer show up. He would give us a piece of paper and show us the new sex offender that moved in our neighborhood. They don't do that anymore. Is it because there's too many sex offenders in our neighborhood now? Offenders no longer Under APNP supervision shall register with the local law enforcement, police department, or sheriff's office. Offenders must register twice each year, once during his or her month, and once during the month that is 6 months following that month. Registration requirements last for the duration of the sentence and the following 10 years after the termination of the sentence in some cases, and for life in more serious cases. See below for specific breakdown of 10-year registration versus lifetime registrations. Offenders must register within 3 business days of every change of primary residence, any secondary residence, place of employment, vehicle information, or educational information. People say, we don't want that. We don't want that. That's too nosy for us. That's too. No, you did the crime and hurt the kid. The kids are more important than your sick, sadistic sexual twists that you have been doing and probably are still doing. Length of registration. For the following convictions, offenders must register for 10 years following the date of termination of the sentence. Kidnapping. So they just get 10 years. Will they be in the sex offender registry? You see that? 10 years? Okay, you should offenders must register for 10 years following the date of termination of the sentence. So after they get out of jail, they got 10 years that they got to do it. The voyeurism, unlawful sexual activity with a minor, unlawful sexual conduct with a 16 or 17-year-old, forcible sexual abuse. Why these life sentences, people? Why? Was it not life sentences when they're going like this and unlawful sexual conduct with a 16 or 17-year-old, forcible sexual abuse, incest, lewdness, 4 convictions required for registration, sexual battery, 4 convictions required for registration, lewdness involving a child, aggravated human trafficking. You see that? Even they could get off. Y'all see that? Even the aggravated human traffickers can get off possibly. What say y'all, huh? Let's just see the comments on that in here. Custodial sexual relations if victim is was under 18 years of age. Sexual exploitation of a vulnerable adult, handicapped, people that cannot think for themselves and might even have the mindset of a kid. That's what that's talking about. You exploited a vulnerable adult, somebody, that can't fight for themselves. And a lot of times, we as survivors, some of us cannot fight back at times. You go back into that mode of you're going to be hurt if you fight back. Getting out safely. You know, that don't mean I won't fight today. Don't mistake that of me, okay? 14, attempting, soliciting, or conspiring to commit any felony offense listed above or in the life list below. 2 separate convictions of any of the above. Lifetime registration. 2 separate convictions, okay? For the following convictions, an offender must register for life. You see that? Up here, you got to register for 10 years. See that? You can register after exploit, you got aggravated human trafficking and all that. But that's not a lifetime, people. Isn't that sad? That is not a lifetime, right? So here comes the lifetime of the registration, okay? Get on further down here. Where'd it go? It's like some of it moved in the way right here. Let me re-hit this again. Okay, here we go. It's for life. Child kidnapping. Aggravated kidnapping. Okay, there's kidnapping up here too, right? There's kidnapping. That's 10 years. Child kidnapping is one. It's down here for last registered sex offender. Aggravated kidnapping. Enticing a minor over the internet. Rape. Rape of a child. Object rape. Object rape of a child. Forcible sodomy. Sodomy of a child. Sexual abuse of a child or aggravated sexual abuse of a child. Aggravated sexual assault. Sexual exploitation of a minor. Aggravated exploitation of prostitution. Depending on the sentencing date, this registration length of any of these might only be 10 years for an individual for those sentenced before laws changed. Wow. Did you see that? You see this little hit note back down here? Depending on the sentencing date, the registration length of any of these, any, include the rape of a child, included aggravated kidnapping, included enticing a minor on the internet, forcible sodomy, sexual abuse of a child, or aggravated sexual abuse of a child. But what I don't get is when you're sexually trafficking a child, it's 10 years. It's just 10 years when you have to register in Utah. It'd only be 10 years for an individual with those sentenced before laws had changed. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So they will have to go over this little case here, this little Provo OBGYN order to stand trial for sexually abusive of patients. And he's got a lot of victims. I mean, yeah, there's OBGYN. There's over 400 something women or so, okay? So here is the thing that I will try to see if I could drop this down in the comment section here. Let me put it there. Hello there, Sheila. Good to see you there. Hello, Elizabeth. Good to see you too. Thanks for coming. So now let's go over here to this petition. I had seen this earlier on somebody's comment at Facebook. And thank you so much. I'll just say the first name, Brad, for being a warrior and helping us out too. So the petition for the implementation of the death penalty for child rape in all 50 states. Call to action. Pledge of support. We, the undersigned, hereby pledge our support for the following reforms to the judicial system regarding the application of the death penalty for adults over the age of 21 convicted of raping a minor child. Uniform implementation. We advocate for the reinstatement or maintenance of the death penalty specifically for child rape in all 50 states. This measure ensures that justice is served uniformly across the nation for one of the most heinous crimes. Public executions, recognizing the need for transparency and the deterrence value, we support public executions for these cases. This visibility serves as a reminder of the severe consequences of such crimes. Expedited appeals process. To ensure swift justice, we propose an appeals process limited to 1 year. This swift review aims to minimize the burden of the legal system and provide closure for victims' families. No appeals with video evidence in cases where there is undeniable video evidence of the crime. We believe that an appeal should be automatically waived. Video evidence provides clear, irrefutable proof, making further legal proceedings unnecessary. Here's a rationale. The deterrence. The death penalty, especially when carried out publicly, acts as a significant deterrent against child rape. The visibility of punishment reinforces societal norms against such acts. Justice for victims and their families. The current lengthy appeals process often feels like a secondary punishment. An expedited process respects their need for closure. Efficiency. Limiting appeals in cases with video evidence streamlines the justice process, allowing for more efficient use of judicial resources. Public sentiment, as reflected in discussions across platforms like X, there exists a segment of the population that supports these measures, advocating for stronger punitive actions against child rapists. Call to action. We call upon all state legislators and the federal government to consider this petition as a reflection of public will for a more decisive, transparent, and efficient judicial system concerning child rape cases. By signing below, we commit to supporting candidates and policies that align with these principles. There's a sign in his petition for the implementation of the death penalty for child rape in all 50 states. That's where it just asks for your name, your last name, your email, state, province, phone number, sign now. And also up here, look at the top of the page right here. It's got two movies, Watch Now, Trafficked and Evaded. And when I clicked on that though, okay. See, it's supposed to be going there now. So hold on. So there's full documentaries, Trafficked and Evaded. And it's got here pre-order now. So you could also go to this website and get these two movies, watch these two movies, whatever you choose. There's also a contact us. You know, I want to thank y'all for coming. I appreciate y'all. Please get the word out. This is crazy. This should never have happened. I cannot believe. And somebody had said something about there's no window for the legislature in the Senate in Utah to look back. No look back window. And I think that's wrong as well. Say God bless to each one of y'all. And remember to be hyper vigilant. I think I'll do another live because I want to present this other thing about Maryland Child Sexual Abuse and the Child Victims Act of 2023. It's going to go into full detail on a lot of scenarios. I think every state needs to be a lot like what Maryland's doing. Thank y'all so much, and may God bless y'all.